Problem: furnace is not working. The first check you will want to do is to ensure that there are no error codes. To do that, you will look into the site port at the blinking LED. Reference this with the diagnostic chart on the outside of the panel, and it is shown here on the right. This heartbeat flashing shows that it is in normal operation and there are no errors. Before proceeding, turn off the furnace circuit breaker switch. Also, turn off any switches associated with the furnace. Finally, turn off the gas valve. You can now remove the top panel. Two common reasons for the furnace not working is the igniter being cracked or the temperature sensor has too much carbon buildup. The igniter is located here in front of the combustion tubes. To remove it, remove the small screw. After the screw is removed, pull out the igniter. You will want to inspect it for any cracks. Yours may look slightly different, however they all function exactly the same. You can also clean it up with a steel wool pad. Just lightly scrub the surface to remove any oxidation. Replace the igniter the same way you removed it, ensuring that it's fully tightened. We will then remove and inspect the temperature sensor located here. Remove the screw holding the sensor in. To remove the carbon buildup, use a dollar bill and lightly sand it down. Do not use any sandpaper or anything with aggressive grit, as it may ruin the sensor. With the sensor clean, mount it back into place and tighten down the screw holding it. This did not fix the problem for me. My issue was the exhaust motor. The cause is a bad bearing. When the furnace turns on, the motor tries to spin, but with the bearing being stuck, it would not turn on. You can hear the hum of the motor, but no spinning. As a temporary fix, you can try tightening the 4 nuts that are holding the motor on. Be sure not to over-tighten them. You can also try to remove the housing to expose the motor. Remove these same 4 nuts you just tightened. You can then remove the motor cover by pulling it off. Try turning the motor to see if it's stuck. If not, you may be able to temporarily reseat the bearing by turning the motor many times and retightening everything. Put the cover back on and reinstall and tighten the 4 nuts. Then turn everything back on and test to see if this works. I was able to find the replacement motor on Amazon. I provided the link in the description below. The replacement motor had a different electrical connection. The original has a pin-type connection. However, the replacement came with 2 spade connectors. I use 18-gauge insulated spade connectors to replace the furnace connections. To remove the existing connection, we'll simply use wire cutters to cut off the pin connector on the furnace. Then use the correct wire stripper gauge and strip off about a ½ inch. Do that for both wires. Once both wires are stripped, we'll then put on the female insulated connector. Then crimp the connection using the proper insulated gauge crimp size. For me, it was 18 gauge. You'll then do the same for the other wire. You will now remove the 4 bolts holding the motor to the back unit. You will then loosen the 2 hose clamps located here and here to remove the connection between the motor and the exhaust. You can now remove the entire motor. You will then install the replacement unit in the reverse order. Set it in place, attach the exhaust coupling, install the 4 bolts, then tighten everything down. You will then connect the motor to the furnace by connecting the black wire to the black wire and the white wire to the white wire. Finally, you will need to attach the green grounding wire to a metal surface. I use the junction box for the on-off switch. Now turn back on the circuit breaker, turn on the gas valve, and turn on the furnace switches. Once the furnace turns on, you will hear the exhaust motor spin, indicating everything is working correctly. You will also see the igniter getting hot, which will eventually ignite the gas and provide heat to your house. Problem solved.